Hey guys, welcome to episode 6 of the Advanced Spigot Coding for 1.15 series. It is Coded Red here, and we are talking about custom Pathfinder goals in this episode. Now, I created a pet plugin for you guys, and we're going to talk about everything in it. Basically, when you type in /pet, a little pet spawns for you named Coded Red's pet, and he follows me around. Now, he follows me around within like 20 to 15 blocks. But if I go too far away, he'll start to teleport to me, just as a normal pet plugin would do. Pretty awesome stuff, pretty simple, but also I added in a thing where if you right click on him, he'll explode. Now this isn't the perfect pet plugin for you guys. I mean, there's a lot more things you can add. This episode is just talking about the Pathfinder goal for that zombie. Now let's get right into the code real quick. So first thing I want you guys to do is go ahead and create that project for you. I named my project Custom Pets. I went ahead and made a package, Custom Pets, and then threw in the main class. My main class has a little bit of code in there. I'll zoom in for you guys. It implements a listener, has it on enable, on disable, and I made a listener because I just went ahead and coded the destroy code real quick, because the main focus on this episode is actually the pathfinding goal for the entity. So this on command, we'll get to this later in the episode. This on command will just spawn our pet, and the on click will basically just blow up our entity whenever we right click on it. And only the person who has the same name as the entity can blow it up. Pretty simple stuff. If you want to go ahead and pause it real quick and type this code in, feel free to. I put in the main class just so everything's nice and easy for you guys to see. I do recommend putting your events and your commands in their own class, but it's up to you guys. Your code, your decision. Let's go ahead and start the actual code of coding our custom pet plugin first. Custom pet class, sorry. So I'm gonna call this the custom pet. And we stuck with the same theme as last episode, the entity zombie husk. So that's what I'm gonna extend. Extends entity zombie husk. And then you're going to see a little render line. We need to put in a constructor. Now you guys should be familiar with this after the last 2 episodes went over it. Put in our constructor of custom pet and then pass in that location loc, and then we're actually going to pass in a player. So we don't usually do this. We don't usually pass in a player, but we're going to pass in a player this time. And I'll explain that in a second, but we're going to super entity types dot husk. And then if you press enter, you might get this little type thing here. Just remove that. Comma. And we'll put in our craft world of our world, which is loc.getWorld. And then outside of that parentheses, .get handle. And just like that, our custom pet is done. Let's go ahead and set that position. This .set position. Nope, not wrong one. .set position, and we're setting our position to loc.getX, loc.getY, and loc.getZ. Just the position of our entity. Finally, I'm going to set this .set baby. I'm going to set baby to true, and this is pretty important. I'm going to set invulnerable to true. That'll make it so our entity does not die. So like when it's teleporting to you, when you're too far away, it could take damage, you know, teleporting and falling. So we'll just make it so it doesn't die from that. Pretty nice thing to have there. All right, next, let's go ahead and create that method, the @override public void initialize Pathfinder. Talked about this last time. When you put Initialize Pathfinder here, it's going to remove all the other Pathfinder goals from the entity. So it's going to remove all the normal husk Pathfinder goals. If you leave this empty, it will have no Pathfinder goals. It will just stand there and do nothing. But let's go ahead and set some goals real quick. This .goal selector .a, put in the 0, and we're putting in that first one that we always put in, Pathfinder goal float of this. Go ahead, import that. I'm gonna copy this and we're gonna put one more before we put our own. Actually, we'll make this one 2. We'll put our one in the middle. This is gonna be Pathfinder goal. Look at player. We're passing this, and then the entity human dot class. I'll move it down the line for you guys. And then we're gonna pass in a variable of 8.0. All right, 8.0 F. There we go. So, like I said, we're doing a custom Pathfinder goal. I don't want to make my Pathfinder goal do everything, obviously, so we're just putting in these 2 right here. This will make it so they can float in water, and this will make it so they look at the player. They can look at players when they get near them. Now, our first priority goal is going to be our new one, our new Pathfinder goal. So to create this custom Pathfinder goal, go ahead and right-click on our package, go to New, Class, and we're going to name it Pathfinder Goal Pet. So this is our pathfinding goal pet class. As you saw, all it's going to do is follow the player and then teleport the player when it gets too far. This is a really basic Pathfinder goal, and I will go over a bunch more Pathfinding goals because there's just so much you can do with this. And I think next episode I might go over targets. This is more of a goal selector kind of thing we're working on. I might go over targets where we can put in an actual target, like target the entity human class, something like that. But we'll see. Give me some ideas if you'll have some for pathfinding goals. I have a bunch that I might do. Like I said, there's just so much we can do with this pathfinding goals. But let's get into the code, and this code is pretty important. I'm going to explain everything that I do thoroughly, and I will put in a lot of comments to my code. I am going to be using the same variables as Mojang, as Spigot uses. So Spigot uses A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all these different variables. I'm going to be using the same ones, and I'm going to put a comment next to it of what it actually means. So the first thing you want to do when you create a custom Pathfinder goal, let's go ahead and type in extends Pathfinder goal. And that's capital P, sorry. Pathfinder goal. And then you go ahead and import that. Now there is a bunch of different ones we can extend here. This is the basic one for a basic goal. There's a Pathfinder goal target that we can go ahead and extend, and that will deal with actual targets. Or like I said, we'll go on that in the future episodes. But right now, Pathfinder goal will work perfectly fine for you guys. Once you extend that, you'll see you get this little red underline saying, hey, you need to add in this method. So we can go ahead and click on it. If you want, I'm gonna go ahead and type it in real quick. So the method that they want us to add in is an @override public boolean a. And let's just type in return false, and boom. So this is the method that they want us to add every single time. And maybe I can zoom in like this, make it a little bigger for you guys. So what is A? What is this boolean A? This method right here will run every single tick. This is how entities work. So if I go back into my server and I type in /pet, every single tick, this entity is running this method. It's running A every single tick. What is A doing? It's checking if it's true. So basically, if you want it to always be true, which really is not recommended, you can type in return true, and once we type in return true, it's gonna run another method. I'll explain this more in a second. Let's actually throw in some of our stuff that we actually need before we can get into the actual running. So there is a total of 7, I think, variables that we need to have. So the first one is the most important one, private final entity insentient A. You've probably seen this word insentient a bunch. Insentient is what other Pathfinder goals use. So when we throw in this right here, we're referring to the entity sentient. Let's see, if I put something, get a little red underline. Yeah, see, it's right there. It's saying, hey, remove this to match the entity insentient. Because right That's all it needs. And entity insentiant is like a new thing in 1.15. I think it might have came out 1.14. I'm not really sure, but it's a new thing of how they want to do entities. So I'm gonna go ahead and code it with entity insentient, just like all the other Pathfinders are. So like I said, entity insentient, this is our pet. So this is our pet. Next, we need a private entity living, and we'll call it B. And this is our owner. So this is the actual player. So we have a pet, that's A, and we have a owner, that's B. Like I said, I'm going to be using all the variables that normal Pathfinder goals use. I'm using the same ones that Spigot uses. And I'm going to put a comment next to it, of course, to explain what it means. But if you want to use actual names, go ahead. Probably be easier for y'all. But the next variable is a private final double F and a private final float G. What is F? F is our pet's speed, and G is the distance between our owner and our pet. So those blocks, how many blocks between our owner and pet do we want our entity to teleport? And then we have 3 variables here, and these are gonna be very easy. Just the name of it's gonna be a little confusing. We're gonna have a private double C. We're gonna copy this, paste it 2 more times. We're gonna have a C, a D, and an E. And if you can guess real quick, I'll give you a second. This stands for your X, this stands for your Y, and this stands for your Z. But these are the variables we will need. We'll need our pet, our owner, our pet speed, the distance, and the X, Y, and Z. Next, we need our constructor. So public Pathfinder goal pet, pass in our entity insentient of A, our double, we can call this speed, and our float, let's call it distance. And all we have to do is this dot A equals A, this dot F equals speed, and this dot G equals the distance. And then finally, this dot A, and then we'll type in here enum set the dot of, and it's gonna get a little weird here because actually we can go here. So scroll down to dot of, and then inside the of type in type dot move, and then you get this little type here. Remove that, we don't need that. All we need is this, and then go ahead, throw in a semicolon, and boom. So what did I do here? This is my constructor. All I did was set this dot A, which is referring, whenever you put this, you're referring to the classes, not the things that are being sent in. So I'm basically setting these variables right here. I'm setting the pet, I'm setting the speed, and I'm setting the distance. And then finally, I'm setting an enum set of type.move. Let me scroll down a little bit and explain what that means. So when you're dealing with different things in Pathfinder goals, there's a bunch of different types we can use. A type move, a type target, a type look, and a type jump are the different Pathfinder goal types that we are able to use. Now, let's say my plugin uses multiple ones. I'm pretty sure we can just do a comma, type dot look. And there we go, boom. So if your plugin deals with multiple things like moving and looking and stuff like that, we can throw in different types. Ours deals with moving. We just want our entity to move from point X to point Z, whatever. We want to move from our old position to the new position. So that's what we're to throw in there. Now we can finally start talking about these methods. And like I said, my methods will be named A, B, C, D, whatever, because we're keeping them the same. So I said this earlier, A is our start. This will start the pathfinding goal if it is true. Runs every tick. Like I said, I'm gonna throw in comments so you guys know. This will run every single tick and it will start the pathfinder goal only if it returns true. So let's go ahead and throw some things in here. First thing I want to put in here is this dot B equals this dot A dot get goal target. So we're get the target, and we're going to set the target later on, but our target is our owner, is our pet, is our pet's owner. So like I said, B refers to the owner and A refers to the pet. So we're getting the pet's owner and setting it to B. So B is our owner, it's our player. If this dot B equals null, let's go ahead and return false. If it returns null, we don't want it to follow, we'll cause errors, return false. Else if this dot A dot get display name equals null, let's go ahead and return false. This is a double check. So the way my target works is I set the display name on the pet to match the player's name, and it follows that way. And I think it's much easier that way than putting in a hash map. But you might have to put a hash map later on for other things. But yeah, we'll just throw in this check. God forbid, you know, it breaks. And then another else if. And this is going to be if it's not. So this dot A dot get display name dot toString dot contains this dot B dot get name. Return false. What am I saying here? I'm saying let's get the pet's name. Let's get the pet's display name. Let's put it to a toString because like we did in past episodes, the pet's name is a chat-based chat-based component. So let's get it put into a toString and let's check if it equals the player's name. So if it equals the player's name, then you know it's their pet. This Pathfinder goal, when we're setting the goal's target, we're not setting the target as the player. We're setting the target as, well, actually we are setting the target as a player, but it's going to be looking for every single entity player, if that makes sense. These are just bonus checks I use to, you know, make sure my plugin works. Next, let's add in the teleport effect. So this would be the last else if before the actual following of the code. So this could be a null check too. So I mean, and if not, so this dot A dot get display name. Oh wait, no, sorry. Hold on. This dot B dot H, and then we're putting in parentheses here, this dot A. So I'm gonna type this up real quick and then I'll explain in a second. But this dot B dot H, this dot A, if that is greater than a cast of a double, to parentheses, this dot G times this dot G. Let's go ahead and return false. So what the hell did I just say here? This is an else if statement that's saying, hey, if the distance from the pet to the player is greater than whatever we sent in here, so the distance. So if it's greater than whatever we sent in here, let's go ahead and return false. We don't want the entity to follow the player, we want him to teleport to the player. So a.set position, just like when we're setting the position earlier, we're setting the position to this dot b dot get loc. This dot b dot loc x. That's it. And I'm gonna copy this and paste it 2 more times. So we have loc x, loc y, and loc z. So like I said, what this if statement is saying is if the distance is greater than, say we pass in 20 blocks, if the distance between the pet and the owner is greater than 20 blocks, then let's go ahead and teleport the player. Finally, last but not least, we have an else statement. And this else statement, what it says is let's actually follow that player. So follow the owner. And I can throw in a little comment in here saying teleport pet to owner. So finally, if they pass through all these else and ifs, we can go ahead and say, hey, you're close enough, you're within 20 blocks, let's follow that player. And this can be done super easy with this dot c equals this dot b dot loc x. This dot d equals this dot b dot loc y, and then finally this dot e equals this dot b dot loc z. This is the x, this is the y, and this is the z. And if you change the variables, c, d, e are just the ones I put up here, c, d, e. And then finally, let's type in return true. All right, so before we add in these right here, we need to add in this vec3d. And all the vec3d does is saying if vec equals null, then let's return false. Basically, it's just a check if it's saying, hey, if it's in the air. If our position vector is in the air, let's return false, because it kind of creates a weird effect with our entity flying really slowly and weird. You'll see this in a lot of tutorials for custom Pathfinder goals. You also see this in the actual Spigot API itself. They use this. So once that's added in, we can go ahead and move on. So we did A. Like I said, what the hell happens if it returns true? If it returns true, what happens is it runs, that's not my arrow, it runs C. What the heck is C? Well, C is this, a public void C. This is C. So when A returns true, C will run. And this is, way you can look at this as our runner. This is like our bucket runnable. That's kind of how I look at it. It's our runner. And what does our runner do? It says this dot A dot get navigation dot A, this dot C, this dot D, this dot E, this dot F. All right, let me explain this in a second. I'll throw some comments in here. So that's all we're gonna put in our runner, in our C. And what the hell is it saying? This is our X, this is our Y, this is our Z, and this is our speed. All I'm doing is, hey, I'm setting some navigation. I'm telling that pet, I'm telling A, which is our pet, telling our pet, hey, go to this position with this speed. Go to X, Y, and Z with this speed. And it's gonna go and it's gonna find that path there. Now, like I said earlier, this is not the best code, obviously, for pets. I mean, you can go ahead and throw in some path finder and find the fastest path to that location. You guys can do whatever you want. Maybe I'll go ahead and make a tutorial later on about a better pathfinder for it. But for right now, this code actually works perfectly fine. I tested a lot with it, and I actually really enjoy how it turned out. So what next? A runs every single tick. When it returns true, it runs C. So what about C? What happens after C? After C, it runs B. Public Boolean B. So this runs after C. And what it basically is, it runs every tick as long as it's true. So it doesn't technically repeat C. I'm gonna write repeat C in there so it kind of makes more sense for you guys. A is gonna run every tick until it's true. Once it's true, it's gonna run C. It runs C once. C is only gonna be ran once. But it's gonna run C as long as B is true. So what does B say? B is gonna say return, if not this dot A dot get navigation dot M. And we'll say and this dot B dot H, this dot A. This is the same code as earlier, but it's a less than, not a greater than. And I'm gonna move down the line, less than the double of this dot G times this dot G. And I spelled double wrong. So this is gonna run after C every single tick as long as it's true. And what am I saying here? I'm saying, hey, did I make it to the location? And am I still within those distance blocks? Am I still within 20 blocks? And did I not make it to the location? Can I put in a little knot there? So as long as I didn't make it to the location and I'm still within 20 blocks, it's going to return true. And I'm still going to run to that location. Let's say I'm running to a location, but my owner, the player, flew away. This is going to return false. And when it returns false, it's going to run public void D. Runs when B returns false. And all we're going to say here is this dot B equals null, and boom pow, we are done. That is it. This code will run perfectly fine now. So like I said, D will run when B returns false. Awesome, awesome stuff. Just like that, we went ahead and we created our own pathfinding goal. We created a pet. Not the perfect pet, but a pretty damn good pet. Let's go ahead. Let's go into our main class, and I gotta show you guys how the spawning works as usual. I'm gonna uncomment all my code I already pre-put in here, and I'll explain it. And this is not pet, this is custom pet. I should have probably named it pet, to be honest, but we'll go with custom pet. So I created a player here. I spawned our custom pet, and remember I said, hey, last time we didn't use player. We're setting in a player this time. Yeah, we still have a little bit of code to do, sorry. I'm setting in this player, and I'm setting the custom name as player.getName is pet. And this is really important we go ahead and put that name in there. And that's because in our goal, I'm tracking that name. I'm tracking to see if they're my name right here. If you don't put the same name as the pet, it's not going to work. That's just how our code works. You can go ahead and get rid of that and change it up later on. But if you're following along the tutorial, make sure you set the name as this. You can change the color, do whatever you want with the color. You have to make sure that player.getName is in there somewhere. That's all you have to do. Next, we spawn the entity. So in our custom pet class, we need to go ahead and put that pathfinding goal. We also need to put the target, and we'll go to the target first. This .set goal target to entity living. Does it look really weird? Craft player, and then it's get handle, and then after get handle, it's move it down a line. It is target reason dot custom, and then true. Go ahead and import all that. Oh, wrong button. Target reason. Okay, I missed something somewhere. Yep, too many there. There we go. A little bit of confusing code here, but I'm setting the goal target. Now there's, like in the last episode, we set the target differently with a pathfinding goal. I'm just gonna set the target this way. So I'm setting the goal target as entity living to the player, and we have to do NMS. So that's why it says craft player.getHandle. And the target reason will be custom because, hey, it's custom, it's whatever. And if you want to do target reason dot, you can see all the different reasons you can do. We're doing custom, and then true. We wanted to track it. So we're setting that target as this player. And then finally, we need to set the goal. So this dot goal selector dot A1 new pathfinder goal pet. Pass in this, and then pass in the speed and then the distance. The speed I will do 1, and the distance will be 15 blocks. Okay, now we are completely done. 30 minutes long. I know the video kind of ran long, but I wanted to explain this in the best way that I could, this class, because like I said, there is so many cool things we can do with this class. Now there's a bunch more methods. I showed you guys A, B, C, and D. There's also an E, G, and H, and F, and then there's probably a K, honestly. but we can talk about those later. These right here, if you know these, your code will work perfectly fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and reload my server and test out the code. So we actually messed up. So before we run this code, we have to fix this. I'm so sorry. Remove that exclamation point from that else if statement right here. I'll go through it in the comment section below for anyone that missed it. But remove that exclamation point, and then we can go ahead and run the code. All right, so now on my server, if I go ahead and type in /pets, you see we got our pet. There he is, and he follows us around. Has the name Coded Red's pet, and then if you have that event coded in, if you right click on him, he should explode. Spawn him back in real quick. So he follows us around. Oops. Follows us around, and his speed's kind of slow. We probably turn that speed up. It's just at 1 right now. But he follows us around, and if I get too far, it's a thing if I get without 15 blocks of him, he'll teleport to us. Now it's an almost perfect pet plugin. Of course, there's a downside of when you log out, he won't be deleted. So if you guys want to fix that error where logging out breaks our pet, go ahead and when you create the pet, put the pet's ID into like a hash map. And then when the player logs out, you can go ahead and remove that pet, and then boom, perfectly fine. That is the only flaw that I found with this code, is that, you know, when you log out, it kind of breaks it a little bit, but it's an easy fix. Throw in a hash map and you're done. And then also the pathfinding goal is kind of weird, but I mean, hey, it works pretty well. It kind of follows us. If you did enjoy the video, please like, subscribe, and then let me know what kind of pathfinding goals you want to see next. I know this is a pretty long video. I kind of wanted to go over in depth of how, you know, the goal works. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.